everybody. Yeah, I think I need to do a little bit of a background about myself. As you see, my name is Mlindi Mashologu. Grew up in the rural Eastern Cape. So when I talk about this topic of digital divide, I know exactly what I'm talking about. So I grew up in the Eastern Cape, did electrical engineering when I was studying, had to work on a couple of telcos. I worked for Telkom, I did work for MTN, work for the OEMs, the Chinese OEMs. It went horribly wrong on both of them. But anyway, we're not there. Then decided to take my journey and, just give back to the country. And decided to do my public duty and join the government, which I've been now in government. I've been in government for over 8 years. I was in Transnet as an SOE, then went to the department. So, colleagues, my slides is not going to be that long. I'll try because I know that between everybody and T. So I'll just touch a few things in terms of my slides, in terms of what the digital divide is, its impact, and what should be our preferred future. And also, if we were to look on broadband, as a foundation that can assist us. But also, I will look on just digital skills, and then I'll look on, how to use data and sharing as well, to close the digital divide. So, colleagues, I think we all know digital divide is, the gap that exists between those who have got access to ICT and those who don't have. And I think there are a couple of factors that really are making it very difficult for the country to close this digital divide. And I think some of the speakers here before me spoke, and I want to take them to a challenge, today. The first one that I want to talk about is infrastructure disparities. I said that I come from a rural area, where I stay in Kyalami. People have been trenches forever since I've been there, putting layers and layers of fiber. And I've got, a massive speed in my broadband connectivity. But when I go home, I can't even use my smartphone when I'm at home. So even when the minister wants to get hold of me, they can't reach me. And it's real. I'm talking about the real fact here. So you can't reach me when I'm at home because of, I started speaking with the operators when I was working at MTN way back in the early 2000s, but still nothing has happened. But I'm taking that challenge to them today, and Vodacom as well. So we've got that challenge, colleagues, of, the urban versus rural, that we are over-investing in the urban areas and we are under-investing in the rural areas. And it creates, some of the problems in terms of digital divide. And if we were to look at telecom, I know, in our local exchange in Kaiskamauk, there is still a 4x2 microwave that we installed when I was in telecom in the 90s. The other factor that I want to touch on is the affordability, both in terms of the devices and the services. And colleagues, we are coming on a country where we've got this huge gap, and I think, the chair highlighted that we're sometimes seen as the most unequal society. So if you go to some of the rural areas, you find that, the cost of the devices, as much as we would like to move away from these traditional networks like 2G and all that, but there's still barriers of entry to the devices, because if now you're saying that, let's switch off 2G, then, people should not be using feature phones. So then it means that they need to have entry-level smartphones. And we still have got a challenge with those ones, And this is looking at a society that has got a huge unemployment rate as well. And then if we were to look on services as well, the services, colleagues, and that, if I've got a contract, I can get now, I've got an uncapped data, in my house for 700 Rand. I've got uncapped. I think I've got 20 gigs of data a month on my mobile, plus, uncapped voice, which is relatively affordable. But if you are on a prepaid market, for 1 gig of data, you still pay like around 85 Rand or so, which is honestly not fair. And when you look on the market that we are servicing as the telcos is mostly the prepaid market. So you find that there is that challenge of, if I commit, then I get a much better service. But I mean, the people that are actually generating as much revenue as possible for the telcos, they are the ones that are getting, quite an expensive service. And on that as well, if you were to look on the SMS, when we were still doing circuit switching, I know the SMS was going on the SS7 network. So it was not even taking the physical channel, but it's still 50 cents even today. And I don't think there is a justification for that, to say that. I mean, the SMS platform has not evolved over the years. So I mean, to send an SMS, it goes through a signaling channel and it goes through the end. So I think it's one of the areas that are really creating a challenge. But also the area of digital literacy. We know that we've got a challenge of skilling in the country, especially digital skills, and also data privacy and security. So those are some of the areas that we really need to look into. So if then we have to look, what then is the impact of this digital divide in our society? So if we were to look on employment opportunities, nowadays everybody that advertises a job, they want you to email a CV and everything. So if I'm sitting at home there in the Eastern Cape, so I won't be able until I get to a place where I've got, a network. And when there was COVID, I would have liked to go and stay home, but I couldn't. So I was compelled to stay here, even though I was working 100% remote, because when I get home, then I won't have a coverage. Then there are areas of digital healthcare that we really want to foster as well. Remote diagnostics of the patients and all that. We do have wearables, most of us here as well here. So if then you don't have, the right connectivity and all that, then which means that we can't use all these services. So last week I was attending a conference organized by the World Health Organization, which is AI in healthcare. And we're looking on all these, various things that we can do with these technologies, if we can have, the right foundations in place. And also in terms of, the education, that one as well, I don't have to belabor that point. We know that when you are here in Gauteng or Durban or anywhere else, you should be able to access, e-learning and all that. But when you go to the other rural areas, you can't really, access the other education. And then in terms of the digital economy, we know that, the more we've got this digital divide, we are actually restricting the capability of the state to tap into the digital economy. So it's some of the things that we really need to look into. And the nice thing I must say is that I don't have to put the stats, colleagues. I think we all know these stats, they are all available. But then, if we were to look on the preferred future, so I like to be positive sometimes, to say that let's just look on the positive side and see what we need to do to actually come to a desired state. So one of the areas that I would have liked, and as government also we like to achieve, is to have a digital society in South Africa. So if we were to see how you define digital society, so it is a society whereby everybody uses ICT for all their life, be it, for shopping, be it for transact to government, be it for entertainment and all that. So that is what we aspire to do. But then if we were to look then, if then we create the digital society, then that we should be able to drive digital economy. But then also there is another factor, that there is Industry 4.0 and 4IR that is actually coming up with new and innovative technologies like your AI, your blockchain, 3D printing, big data. So those are the catalysts that we can use as well. But at the foundation then, we need to have, these networks, that can be affordable as well. And also, but also Now, from the government point of view, so some of the things is to ensure that we do have the right legislations and the right policies that can really assist us in going to, making sure that we foster the collaboration, foster the deployment of these networks, So that is what we are trying to do, to say that the future that we want, we can do it. It's all in our hands, and we can, if we work together, we should be able to do that. Then if we look onto the broadband as a foundation, nobody can dispute that. We know that none of these things that we want to do will be available if we don't have broadband. So the first point that I want to highlight, I think the CEO of Cell C has highlighted it, and everybody says that, is the infrastructure sharing. And I know it's been one of the challenges that we're facing as a country. We still want to compete on infrastructure, not on services. And it cannot be right, because when I was busy building networks, even when I was in Transnet, you want to buy fiber from the providers that have got fiber. They don't want to give you fiber. They rather give you managed service. I mean, I don't think that should be a commodity that we should be like now, in this day and age. We should be like saying that we hog our fiber resources, rather compete on the services, and then we can be able to say that if we've got a fiber route on this area, then we can start, building the fiber into the other remote areas as well that don't have that. But also we do need, the multi-stakeholder approach, the private sector, MNOs, ISPs, SOCs. But also one of the things that I would like to advocate as well is to start looking onto the SMMEs and community-owned networks. Remember, if now you were to look on the value of community-owned networks, there are areas like my area there. If then there is a setup that says that they want to do a community-owned network, and remember, in terms of backhauling, they are still going to use your networks to backhaul that. So I think it's important then to look into those areas, because for the bigger players, they feel that, in terms of the revenue generation, so for them, it's not going to be worth, doing that. But then enable that smaller startup, but you still leverage on them as well, because they are still going to be using your network in terms of the backhaul and all that. But also in terms of the spectrum, we know that the spectrum has been auctioned, and we'll continue auctioning the spectrum as well. But, the other point that I want to look into is, and I did put that one in red. It's not from the department or anything. So if we were to look on broadband as a public good, I will tell you why I'm saying that. If we were to think about it, I mean, if the access of broadband can be treated as public good, then that will mean that, broadband will be available everywhere, and people can use broadband. Yes, there are cost elements and everything, but we need to look on the bigger scheme of things, and how then we'll enable, the digital economy. So if we can have broadband all over the country and at an affordable rate. So the other area that I want to stress on is the area of the digital skills. And as a department, we do have a strategy as well, digital skills strategy. But the reason why I advocate for the skills is that we see quite a lot of OTT platforms that are coming into the country. And these are the markets that we can actually, overcome. We can actually build the capacity to develop some of these solutions. If we were to look on what, say, the likes of Uber they are doing, I mean, this is an app. Anybody that can code can actually develop that app. So why then do we not enable that, so that we know that we do have homegrown solutions that can really assist us in terms of, growing this country going forward. And also, if we were to look in terms of the human resource development, we know that the more you've got these digital skills, the more you're going to start, enabling innovation in the country. And the more innovation there is, the more also your networks, as the players that are in here, they are going to be used. So this is a win-win situation for everybody to say that let's enable this thing and make sure that we can have the right skills in place, and we can have, the people that can think about the solutions of the country, and the people that are local as well to start developing the solutions of the country. Then I think as I draw to my close, I think I need to look onto the use of data to address the digital divide. I think Celsius CEO mentioned here that sometimes we develop solutions not really knowing what the customers want, because we are not interacting with the data that is available. So I think it's time that, we look on the data that is available, and there is quite a lot of data that you can dig into. Like if you were to look on the demographic data from Stats SA, they will tell you, what are the challenges of the country, how the country is looking into the usage of, the networks. We do have to take the ICT statistics as well. The socio-economic data, it can tell you as well, the disparities that are in the country. But also, there are reports that are normally generated by various players like your ICASA, your GSMA, in terms of the state of ICT. But also using the social media, we can actually derive some stats in there. So if you mine that data, you do the analytics, you use the AI algorithms, you can actually see where you have to put all the efforts in. I did highlight, the consumer behavior in red because, there are aspects of the POPI Act that we need to be mindful of. So that's why I didn't want to highlight it, but to say that you can look on the consumer behavior, you can look on the trends, then by looking on those, you can develop the insights and say that this is how the customers behave, and these are the solutions then that we need to do that can assist us in terms of closing the digital divide. So just a few points that I want to highlight in terms of the collaboration. So we need to have, the common understanding. Different stakeholders have got access to, same insights, and we can understand where we want to go. But also we need to complement the efforts. I know when I used to work for the operators, at that time, competing for the services was a serious thing, because if I put a base station here, I don't tell anybody that I've got a base station, because I need to take as much customers as possible, because before anybody can come in. So I think on this day and age, we can't do that. We need to collaborate and make sure that we work together, and also we can pool the resources. And if you use that data model that I've highlighted before, we can use an evidence model, in terms of decision making, but also the partnerships, the public partnerships. They are the ones that can really assist us in terms of, solving all these. And also if we leverage on, the academic data that, the academics, they do quite a lot of work. They can even give us more insights to see what we need to do as a country. But colleagues, as I'm closing, I need to close on, this quote from, one researcher from MIT, which says that digital transformation, when it's done correctly, is like turning a caterpillar into a butterfly. But when done wrong, all you have is a really fast caterpillar. So some of us, we did biology in school, and you know how you will turn, from a caterpillar to a butterfly. It's a huge transformation. So that is what we would like to see as a country that is transformed, a country that can thrive, a country that wouldn't have a digital divide. Thank you very much.